briefed on? Are you meeting with senior officials?
I'm going to tell you the
Are you meeting with your
Am I
senior
going to
officials?
really, are you asking me to say what will they do, where will we attack, when, and at what angle will we attack from?
Are you considering
Who are you
work?
with?
I'm with the U.S. White House TV pool. I'm wondering, are you being briefed on options?
network are you with?
I'm with CNN, sir.
Why don't you just say I'm with CNN? She says I'm with the White House pool.
Yes.
And I say, what? You're with CNN. You're with,
I'm with CNN,
you're
yes.
with fake news.
Iran
Because
said that-
CNN is fake news.
Iran
Go ahead,
said
give me a...
I think Iran takes your threats seriously.
I think so. Don't you think so, CNN? Don't you think so? Wouldn't you say that they probably do at this point? After going through it for years with me,
Right.
being hit, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, the Iran nuclear threat wiped out. Don't you think, and then you just had Venezuela, don't you think, she says, CNN, do you think they take your threat seriously? Wouldn't you say they do after all of the things we've done? What a stupid question.
Unrest across Iran is escalating as the regime cracks down on government protests amid a major internet blackout. 70 people have reportedly been killed and thousands more are detained. Earlier today, US President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, Iran is looking at freedom, perhaps like never before. The USA stands ready to help. More on that. Joining us live is the Foundation for Defence of Democracy's Iran Program Senior Director, Ben Talibou. Behnam, thank you very much for joining us. Yes, so we know that there's going to be a meeting taking place Tuesday, your time, with Donald Trump. Can you talk us through what we are expecting there, first of all?
Sure, it's a pleasure to be with you again, Janie. This is going to be a critical meeting to determine how President Trump plans to enforce, if at all, the popularly called red line that he drew first on Truth Social and then later several times in the press with respect to the regime cracking down on Iranian protesters. Previously, he called the reported deaths a stampede. Up to now, there is at least a reported 2,000 killed, particularly under the 3-day internet blackout. Mind you, we are in now day 15 of the Iran nationwide protests. The president's options range from political to economic to military. The big X factor for the president will be, does he choose to go kinetic or not? And will he choose to go overt or not? And there he has to worry about potential escalation pathways, because today regime officials have talked about striking U.S. vessels, as well as even Israel, if there is a military strike against them, allegedly in support of the protests.
And there has been concern over the 3 nuclear sites in Iran that they may not have been fully destroyed in the airstrikes that took place in June by the US. There's new satellite imagery out. What information do you see regarding, is it those 3 sites or other areas?
Sure. So when President Trump did Operation Midnight Hammer in late June during the 12-day war between Iran and Israel, we can say with confidence he took out the regime's crown jewel of its nuclear apparatus, which is why one thing that the West has feared for quite some time is not happening today, meaning a rush to enrich uranium to weapons grade, because we assume that the regime is not enriching uranium at the declared uranium enrichment sites. But the regime is trying to, quote unquote, build back better. It's trying to get into position with the previous weaponization site, Talaran 2. There's satellite imagery that confirms that, particularly from the Institute for Science and International Security. They seem to be building something like a large explosive container vessel. Similarly, at a site that was struck by the U.S., Natanz, that has 2 sites, an above ground and a below ground, at the pilot fuel enrichment plant, there does seem to be some tunneling there. So one wonders, is the regime trying to get at something that was entombed or buried underground? assumedly uranium or assumedly centrifuges, while these protests are ongoing. And all of this is to say, lest we forget, the Islamic Republic of Iran is not just a human rights challenge, it's not just a terrorism challenge, it's not just a nuclear challenge, it's all of the above.
And talk us through the protests. I mean, how big are they compared to other years, perhaps in 2022, for example?
Sure. So I would say we are past the point of assessing the protest through volume. Qualitatively, 15 days of protests that have touched every single one of Iran's 31 provinces, at least 100 different cities, towns, and villages, if not a lot more, as well as a 3.5-day internet blackout, is a game changer. And particularly because it comes against the backdrop of the regime's successive failures and defeats, be it at home or abroad, throughout 2025. These are environmental, economic, political, and even military. So the population has simply had it. And what we're seeing now is the latest installation of a movie we've been seeing from 2017, which is a nationwide anti-regime uprising and the bravery of the Iranian people using every available opportunity to protest. And the regime is trying to kill them, quite literally, under the cover of internet darkness. So I would say this is the most significant challenge to the state from the street that we have seen in the 46-year history of the Islamic Republic.
And before we wrap it up, how concerned are you about the Supreme Leader's safety?
Well, I'm not too concerned about the Supreme Leader's safety. I think the regime really should be feeling the pressure right now. No doubt since the 12-day war, it's been reported that he's not having electronic communications. He's only been spotted above ground a handful of times. No doubt one thing that senior regime officials, be they political, military, religious, are worried about is a Venezuela-type model with respect to the Islamic Republic. I say at this point, a regime that is slaughtering its own people like this does indeed have a reason to be afraid, particularly when they're up against Donald Trump.
All right, Ben, I really appreciate your time and analysis. Thank you so much.
The son of Iran's toppled Shah has called on the US President Donald Trump to liberate the nation as deadly anti-government protests grow. A US-based rights group now estimates more than 500 people have died in 2 weeks of demonstrations. Let's go live to our Asia correspondent Stash Butler in Taipei. Stash, what's the Shah's son had to say, and tell us why is it so significant?
Well, truly, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi has played a significant part in these demonstrations from his base in the United States. His father, Mohammad Reza Shah, was toppled in the 1979 Islamic Revolution that led to the current government today. And his son's voice, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, has been heard among those protests that we've been seeing unfold over the past 2 weeks. Protests that began as an expression of discontent against soaring inflation, a falling exchange rate, life being made hard for ordinary Iranians by international sanctions and by the effects of US and Israeli strikes earlier last year. Now, from afar, the Shah's son has called for regime change for several decades now, repeating that at this key moment, as you said, as reports of deaths from these protests continue to emerge.
This is an opportunity to help a nation that starves for liberty, that starts to be rejoined with the free world, and to have the same relationship that we had with America before this revolution occurred, to liberate ourselves and come back to the fold and contribute to world peace and stability regionally and beyond.
Now, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi has also addressed an appeal directly to the US president, who has warned that he will hit Iran very hard if deaths of protesters continue.
Your words of solidarity with the Iranian people and your administration has had tremendous positive effect. Let's hope that we can permanently seal this legacy by liberating Iran so that we and you can make Iran great again. Let's partner on this and have a better future for our countries and for our people.
Now, the Shah's son has said that he will lead a democratic, or he's ready to lead a democratic transition in Iran. Of course, if he is brought to power by some kind of regime change in Iran, it would not be the first time that the US has supported someone in his family to do so, because his father himself was brought or restored to power in 1953 by a US and British-backed coup that overthrew the Prime Minister.
And Stash, we're seeing the US President Donald Trump continuing to talk about Iran, threatening once again to get involved here. What's the latest?
That's right, Trudy. So just in the past a couple of days or so, Donald Trump has taken to his favourite platform, Truth Social, again, writing recently that Iran is looking at freedom like never before and that the USA stands ready to help. Now, it's unclear exactly what form that help could take, whether it means further sanctions, whether it means something a lot more direct, something like the US strikes that we saw last year. But in the meantime, protests in solidarity with Iranian people have sprung up around Western countries led by the Iranian diaspora in those countries, most notably, or among the notable protests in the UK, the Iranian flag torn down from the front of the Iranian embassy and replaced with another pre-Islamic Republic flag. Now, the UN chief Guterres has said that he's shocked by reports of deaths from protests, but Iran has blamed the US and Israel for fomenting the unrest that we've seen there and warned that it will retaliate against any US attack.
Asia correspondent Stash Butler, thank you.